A key event of World War II that prevented the invasion of Britain as the Royal Air Force and Luftwaffe battled it out in the heavens. Three Polish cryptologists worked on deciphering the German Enigma code in 1932 and later handed their work to the British in 1939, of which Alan Turing aided the counterattacks of the Royal Air Force. German air forces suffered great losses and decided to leave Britain alone. Winston Churchill and other key people successfully defended Britain and effectively prolonged the war so that the Nazis could be defeated. Eliminating France and Britain would have strengthened the Axis.
Hitler successfully allied with the Balkan countries of Bulgaria, Romania, and Hungary, and conquered Yugoslavia and Greece. He moved ahead with Operation Barbarossa, his plan of invading Soviet Union. On September 8, German forces put Leningrad under siege. After such, Hitler looked to Moscow, the capital and heart of the Soviet Union. By December, the Germans had advanced to the outskirts of Moscow. Soviet General Georgy Zhukov counterattacked, and the summer uniforms of the Germans were advantageous for them, as the temperatures quickly fell during the course of the war. After some time, the Germans lost, and such advance only cost them 500,000 soldiers. But Hitler refused to accept such defeat. He sent his 6th Army under the command of General Friedrich Paulus to seize the oil fields in the Caucasus Mountains. The army was to capture Stalingrad. The Luftwaffe went on a nightly bombing raid that sent much of the city ablaze and reduced the city to rubble. On November 19, Soviet troops outside the city launched a counterattack and were able to trap the Germans inside the city and cut off their supplies. The Germans then surrendered and cost Germany another 500,000 soldiers.
In the morning of December 7, 1941, American sailors at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii awoke to the roar of explosives, realizing that the island was already under attack by the Japanese. Within 2 hours, the Japanese had sunk or damaged 19 ships, including 8 battleships moored in the Pearl Harbor. More than 2,300 Americans were killed. But before such happened, the Americans already cracked one of the codes the Japanese were using, which means that they were well aware of the Japanese plans for Southeast Asia to conquer it. With this, the American-controlled Philippine Islands and Guam were also threatened. To stop Japan's conquests, the Americans cut off their oil supply after they conquered the former French Indochina, which was composed of the present-day Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. Despite the oil shortage, Japan still proceeded with its conquests and plotted massive attacks on the British and Dutch colonies in Southeast Asia. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, Japan's greatest naval strategist, called the attack on Pearl Harbor, as he considered the American territory, Hawaii, as a dagger pointed at Japan's throat and must be destroyed. The attack angered the mainland Americans and will eventually lead to USA declaring war on Japan. The Battle of Midway is a decisive turning point of naval war during World War II, as the Japanese sought control over Midway Island, but the US naval fleet and land-based planes were ready, having known their plans by breaking a few Japanese codes. It is decisive because USA ultimately dealt permanent damage to the Japanese naval fleet, allowing an offensive for them as the Japanese reconstruct their plans in retreat after heavy naval losses.